Okay, today we're going to cover the American Convention on Human Rights, right? Also called the San Jose Pact. It's called the San Jose Pact because it was written and ratified in San Jose, Costa Rica. Okay. It's similar to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that you already know about. But it goes a step further. It does some things that the UDHR does not, including guaranteeing freedom from warmongering propaganda and racial propaganda, right? And all of the social harms that that creates. Okay. It's designed for the same purpose as the UDHR and the UNDRIP and all other human rights laws on the earth. But it's for Latin America. It's for the Americas. It's under the Organization of American States. And it's enforced by the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights and the Inter-American Court of Human Rights under the auspices of the OAS. Right. So the commission is headquartered in Washington, D.C. The court is headquartered in San Jose. Right. So it also protects economic rights, cultural rights, and social rights. So it seeks to balance the rights of the individual with the rights of the people collectively. Any questions? Questions?
So the propaganda for war, would that be considered like them trying to recruit people, say to their military? I mean, because here
That's
we have...
that's not against recruitment. It's against public messages. You know, advocating nationalism and war. In other words, militant nationalism. So, for example, today is September 11th. That's a special day in the United States, right? And the kinds of messages that you would have seen today on public media, such as TV and radio, that's illegal in most of the Americas, right?
So like the poster that we have here as an example would be like the Uncle Sam saying, we want you or I want you in the U.S. Army, that would be against the law out there?
That's a recruitment poster. That's a recruitment poster, that's different, right? But the kinds of posters that you see during wartime, they are illegal. The kinds of posters that demonize other peoples or other countries, right, that they are illegal. Interestingly enough, the countries that did not join the OAS in advocating the ACHR include Cuba, the United States, and Canada, and some of the English-speaking countries in the Americas, like Belize and Guyana. Now, most of these countries object to this instrument's definition of life to be protected, right? Well, you know, everyone's in favor of protecting human life, right? But this instrument defines human life as beginning at conception. Right? The right to life begins at conception, according to this instrument. Now, of course, most of the countries in the Americas are Roman Catholic, and they believe that life begins at conception, not at birth, and not at the first breath that the baby takes. Right? And so for that reason, it could not be approved in the United States or Canada. Canada had a problem with the protection of the life of a fetus. Right? U.S., it would have been controversial as well. In fact, the U.S. signed it, but the Senate has to ratify it, and the Senate is not likely to ratify anything like this. Cuba had its own reasons because, like most human rights instruments, it gives more rights to humans as opposed to individuals, as opposed to the collective people, the people, right? And the balance of rights in Cuba is different. More rights for the community at large, the community collective. And so Cuba could not ratify it. Any other questions? Cut. Okay, yes.
What would happen if one of the countries wants to opt out of this law or agreement?
You mean change their mind?
Yeah.
Venezuela did. Venezuela signed on to this and all of the subsequent protocols to detail this. But it changed its mind in 2012. And so Venezuela is no longer a part of this ACHR. Mexico signed on all the way to all of the detail. There were two more protocols to add detail to this. Later, Mexico signed on to all of them. Right. Some countries signed on to this, but not the one or the other of the subsequent protocols. There was a protocol to outlaw the death penalty. And most of the members signed on to it, many did not. Right. This law, this international protocol, outlaws the death penalty in certain circumstances, right? But allows it in others. And so the other protocols that went along with this to add detail to this, some countries agreed with them, some countries did not. Trinidad and Tobago also changed their mind because of the death penalty. They wanted to bring back the death penalty in those island countries there. Trinidad and Tobago. So they pulled out of this. Other questions or comments? Yes.
So just as like they can leave the ACHR, can they also go back in? Like could Venezuela go back in after signing off?
I think so. Well, like the OAS, the actual larger Organization of American States, they kicked Cuba out at one point, then changed their mind later, and Cuba said, no, you kicked us out, we're not coming back. Right? But yeah, they would allow countries to come back. But in this case, in the case of Venezuela, the ACHR said, okay, you can leave the ACHR, but everything you did before you left, you are responsible for in terms of human rights abuses. So they're still responsible for their actions while they were still a member. Other questions or comments?